Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this video, we proceed with the next measures, which is the measures of position. So under the measures of positions, we are going to learn about the Z-score, quartile, decile, and also percentile. So let's look at to the first one, which is standard score, or it is known as a Z-score. It is represent the distance between data values and the mean in terms of standard deviation. So if we try to look at to the formula here for the Z-score, X is the values of the data minus with the X bar, it is the mean of the sample, and divided by S, which is standard deviation of the sample. When we try to measure the difference between any two values, there are three possibilities. So it's either you get the difference is positive, the difference is equal, and the difference is negative, meaning that the Z-score, the possible values of the Z-score is either greater than 0, equals to 0, or less than 0. If you get the values of Z, which is greater than 0, meaning that the data values that you try to calculate here is above average or above the values of the mean. When the values of the Z-score is exactly 0, meaning that the data that you try to calculate the difference, there is no difference, meaning that it is equivalent to the values of the mean. And if the values of the Z-score is less than 0, meaning that the data values is below average or below the values of mean. So let's look at to the example here. Normally, we will use the Z-score for the something that we cannot compare directly. For example, we have apple and apple. So you cannot apple, let's say we have apple and orange. So you cannot compare between apple and orange directly. Why? Because it is two different things. Unless you want to compare between apple that you bought from the shop A and the apple that you bought from the shop B. So that is for the what is the Z-score. When you try to measure something that is different, you cannot compare directly. So we will use Z-score. For example, we have the exam score for the two students, which is Azila and Yanti, and we have three subjects here. So the question here is, on which subject Azila performed better? And we need to state the reason. Okay, so when you try to look at to the marks itself for the Azila, so we'll focus on Azila's marks. We have 70, 80, and 58. So if you just look at to the marks directly, we can say that she performed better in accounting. But you cannot compare directly because history, accounting, economics are three different subjects. Unless you want to compare between, let's say for the statistic, we have, let's say, quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3. Let's say we have three different quizzes for the same subject, then you can compare directly. But since it is different subject, so we cannot compare directly. For this one, this is the same subject. So it's okay for you to compare directly. For the three different subject, you cannot compare directly. So we will use the Z-score. So Z-score is equivalent to, we have to calculate Z-score for each subject. Let's say the first one, we try to calculate for the history. Z is equivalent to, the marks is 70 minus, so it's already calculate for you the mean and also the standard deviation, and then minus with the 60 divided by the standard deviation is 14.14. And then you have to also calculate for the accounting and also the Z-score for the economics. When you try to calculate the Z-score, so you will get the Z-score for the first subject, which is history, is 0.7072, and Z-score for the accounting is equivalent to negative 0.707, and the Z-score for the economics, you will get negative 0.707 as well. So since we want to know which subject that she performed better, of course we will look at to the Z-score which is higher. The higher Z-score measures which subject that she performed better. Because from the formula, Z is equivalent to X minus mean divided by standard deviation. Meaning that Azila performed better in history. You can say that Azila performed better in history because the Z score is higher. The Z score is higher in history subject. Or we can say that the marks of the history is above average of the class. That's why we look at to the positive Z score. So we have only one positive Z score here, which is history subject. So but the other two subject, you have negative values of Z, meaning that she performed lower than average of the class. We will proceed in the next video for the next measures of position, quartile, decile, and percentile.